Orbs. What are orbs exactly? Traditionally, I've always heard the concept of them being associated with ghosts, some kind of spirits in the air. But what if I were to tell you that these spirit type orbs seem to be just as common with actual UFO cases? If you're curious to find out more, please stay tuned. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, this is Felipe speaking at Second Earth Alternative. It's so good to be back again. And just to kind of clarify what's happening with this channel, we're going to be launching a ton of videos. Basically, the feature film that I was acting in Brazil has kind of finished, at least with the editing process, and we're going to be sending it to sound. But that means that my time has essentially been alleviated, and I'm so excited to have a ton of episodes that are going to come out. I'm going to have an episode about the Varginha case UFO. For the astute UFO connoisseurs, you might know that James Fox created a documentary on the Varginha case in Brazil. Now, if you don't know what the Varginha case is, it's basically the Brazilian Roswell. But if you ask Brazilians, they will say that this case has a lot more evidence. It happened a lot more recently. Some of the eyewitnesses are still alive today. And what's so shocking is there might actually be photos of this alien. To make this even more exciting, James Fox was on Coast to Coast AM, and he was kind of asking the general audience if anybody has a photo of this alien, because apparently everybody who previously had a photo of this alien were threatened. I believe he was explaining that when he went to Brazil to try to talk to one of these witnesses who might have a photo, the guy nearly shot them in his property. So if there is an image of this alien, it seems to be very elusive on the internet, and nobody seems to have come across one. What if I were to tell you that we might actually have a photo of that alien? I know, it sounds absolutely crazy. I gathered this photo about 5 years ago when I was making a different video, and it came from a very small Brazilian website that seemed to have been somebody who lived in that town. So it's possible that the photo could have been that person themselves or somebody that person knew. And I remember copying the photo, and then I was talking about this case to my friends, and I wanted to kind of showcase this photo to my friends. And if you can believe it, it disappeared from the internet. Basically, if you try to reverse search that image on Google, reverse search, I think I said that incorrectly, but you know what I mean. If you try to get a photo, show it to Google and say, hey, could you find different sources of this exact image? It comes out 0 results. So I contacted James Fox. He seemed initially interested in the photo, but he didn't contact me back after I sent him the photos. Maybe he thinks it's a fake. I don't know. But it's going to be a very exciting episode, so please stay tuned for the episode. I'm hoping that this channel is going to catch fire soon because we got a ton of material, ton of episodes to do, a lot of time to make up. And if you don't know, we do have another channel called Strange Horizon, and I want to promote this channel because we only have about 340 subscribers, and there's a few really cool videos that you won't find at Second Earth, and we will be updating that channel periodically, especially now that I have a lot more time on my hands. Okay, so that was a long introduction. So let's get right to the episode. So today we're going to be talking about orbs, and specifically we're going to talk about UFO orbs. So this seems to be a common occurrence you typically think of UFO as being like this typical saucer-shaped object. Sometimes it's like the TR-3B, it's like this big triangular object that just hovers silently over the skies. There is the typical cigar-shaped UFOs. Some people will claim that these are the ships of the reptilians. I don't know. I can't say one way or another. But one other shape that is commonly reported with UFOs is a sphere. Not just a sphere, but sometimes a kind of like a plasma-like orb. So I guess you can categorize those in 2 different type of rounded type of UFOs. One of them being like a 3-dimensional sphere, and another one being like a plasma orb that is kind of hard to define its exact dimension. So today what I want to do is I want to go over a UFO that was initially reported on Coast to Coast AM, And then I wanted to showcase you what it was that we were able to extract on After Effects with this particular footage. So without further ado, let's get started. They showcased. As you can see, the object was very hazy, right? So let me kind of rewind just to kind of showcase again. It happened kind of quickly. Okay. So there isn't much besides that. It's a very short clip. It's only 10 seconds. But what I want to talk about is the nature of the UFO, the fact that it seems to be very hazy. So this is why it's so interesting to me that UFOs and ghosts are both associated with orbs. Look, I don't know what ghosts are. I don't know if there is such a thing as afterlife, though I do personally believe it. I personally saw one of these one time, and it was really strange because I had this highly emotionally distressed moment. One of those moments were so agonizing that even tears doesn't do enough to explain the emotions that are going through you. And then right when I felt that, I saw this weird kind of floaty type of orb go through the sky. This is probably the one UFO case I never talked about because I don't have any kind of evidence. There was no eyewitnesses. It was just, and also I was in a kind of a mental state where, I don't know, maybe was I hallucinating? Is that possible? I don't know. I just never talked about this. But what I did find interesting is I went in an article a few months later. I forgot exactly the timeline, but the article was talking about how this particular type of UFO, the kind of spherical plasma-like UFOs, are often associated with high energy emotions. And I was like, whoa, that's really weird, because that's exactly what happened to me. So what's going on here? Why are these UFOs associated with emotions? Why are there orbs associated with ghosts, orbs associated with UFOs, and are they the same thing? These are questions that I don't know the exact answer to. It's something that we might have to make an entire episode about. What I do find interesting, though, is that UFOs is also very associated with consciousness. Now, what do I mean by this? Well, I think one of the main pioneers of this idea is Dr. Greer with his whole CE5 experiments, where he goes out into the desert and actually summons UFOs to appear. And from the videos, from the photos, apparently there's even an alien photo that he has. From all of that evidence, it seems that whatever he's dealing with is some kind of like plasma-based orb-like, almost ghost-like UFO. And also there was this one psychiatrist that used to work at Harvard, Dr. John E. Mack. Now, Dr. John E. Mack started studying abductions. And at first he just thought that this was like a mental disorder. He was trying to find like a disease that I guess they could put a DSM-5 psychology book of diseases regarding why these people who have alien abductions, these experiencers, why they're all talking about the same thing. After interviewing hundreds, if not thousands of individuals, he eventually came to the conclusion that these individuals are actually telling the truth. Not only are they telling the truth, I think I read that the population was just very average. Sometimes there's plumbers, sometimes there are doctors, sometimes there's engineers. It happened with all kinds of demographics. Black people, white people, Asian people, happened with women and men. Similarly, happened with professionals and poor people. So if this was a mental disorder, you would think there'd be some kind of prejudice with the demographics, but that's not what he discovered. But something else that he started talking about as he did more research on this topic, he had a hard time differentiating the actual UFO cases themselves, and I'm talking about the abduction cases, the experiencers, and people who actually take hallucinogen and apparently talk to other entities. And I believe that there was a recent research that actually showed that hallucinogenic experiences where people are talking to other entities, they seem to have a form of objective reality, as if the entities are not being made by their own simple minds, but is an entity or is some kind of construction that multiple people, while having similar experiences, can see, can objectively say, hey, this thing exists. I'm talking to the same entity. So the fact that John E. Mack had a hard time differentiating what would be like hallucinogenic experiences and then what is assumed to be a physical alien abduction type of experience, to me really highlights the idea of how much consciousness is around the whole idea of UFOs and possibly alien contact. So yeah, so all of that really is an interesting topic to try to figure out why is consciousness so involved. Is there kind of a physics around it? Is there like just the same way that we have electromagnetic fields, the same way that we have a gravitational field, is it possible that there is some kind of consciousness field? Something that is literally rendering the environments around us the moment that we decide to look at it. It makes me actually think about simulation theory when I think about this, because it's almost like a video game. It's hard to imagine that there could be some kind of computational device that could essentially render the entire universe at once. But if the universe is acting the same way that computer renders video games, meaning you have the architecture, you have the programming, but the only thing that you're actually visually seeing is the things that are within your vicinity. So the computer doesn't have to render the entire city environment at once. It only renders the city environment at the exact location where you're at. And it almost seems like our world, our universe, is following these same principles. You know, when you think about the quantum mechanics, when you think about the idea that when we observe a particle, it seems to change from a wave to a particle. And it's almost like our observations, the consciousness field, is almost like it's changing the laws of physics, which is the most immutable thing that we know that exists in the universe. So I'm kind of getting in tangents, but these are just some ideas that have been floating around my head recently. And I'm only bringing this up because of the idea of consciousness and the effects of consciousness in our world. And perhaps there are technologies that we are unaware of that utilizes consciousness as a primary mover, as a basic tenet of the technology itself. Okay, so now that I went in a second tangent, I apologize about that. Let me show you the UFO that we extracted. So I work a lot with Photoshop, and I have my own unique method that I developed for extracting objects out of clouds, things that might be difficult to see. I don't want to get too complex with the whole methodology. I just want to show you what it is that we extracted from this footage. So take a look. So just to kind of rewind, here's the original footage. You can see the object floating here. Oh, something else I forgot to mention is two phenomenons that are often associated with UFOs, and I can't tell you why, is volcanoes and electric storms. So you might have heard that UFOs seem to appear during electric storms. Now, is this related to lightning balls, or is it related to perhaps some kind of energy that they extract energy from the skies? I don't know. It's just something that I've heard multiple times, and it doesn't surprise me that this video is a UFO in a lightning storm. Very interesting. So let me go ahead and show you what we extracted here. So let's take a look. So this is really cool. I mean, it's kind of crazy because what I'm seeing here is something that looks very organic. Looks almost like plasma-like, almost ghost-like, but then when you extract it, you see that it has a very defined structure. So it's almost like it's defined and it has very strong geometric structures. All the while, it behaves kind of like a ghost. It kind of like it kind of just floats out and then floats back in. But let me just go back and show you the structure of this object. Look at that. That literally looks like a physical craft. Now I understand what they mean when they say high strangeness, because here you have a very physical form that just melts away like it's some kind of ghost. So I scoured the internet for orb-like objects that were seen, and suffice to say, this appears to be a phenomenon that has happened before, and there are other cases. So let me show you what I'm talking about here. UFO hunter claims to spot strange orb over London. I was absolutely gobsmacked. A UFO hunter believes he has seen the same alien spaceship across the globe, this time appearing over the UK capital, London. A strange orb was spotted hovering over London, prompting wild UFO theories. The strange object appears to float almost motionless over Croydon, leaving witnesses stunned. In the video of the object, two women can be heard interacting expressing their amazement at this sighting. So let's go ahead and take a look at this UFO.
Do you see the way he looks? Do you see that he's new? Whoa.
Oh, see?
Whoa.
Do you see what I mean?
Whoa, look at that.
See?
Whoa, look at what we're looking at right now. Oh my god, I'm gonna literally cry. Oh my god. Oh my god.
Okay. If she's an actress, she's a pretty good actress. I've seen you like fake UFO videos and people acting, and you're like, bro, you're just acting. And her reaction seems to be pretty legitimate to me. But what I found so interesting about this video is not only does it have that kind of plasma-like, orb-like look, I went ahead and I extracted one of the still frames and I put it on Photoshop and just want to show you what it looks like on Photoshop. Okay, so here is the frame that I captured, and I used the same method that I was talking about that I developed for extracting the previous shot that you just saw. And take a look what happens when I put this filter on. So what I found so interesting is that I can't tell what's inside this orb-like object. Is this a triangle? Or is this just some random frame that just happened to look geometric? But I'll tell you, this is not the first time that I've looked at something that seemed to be circular, and then when you extract some of the wavelengths and you kind of look into the light around it, you notice that there is like very strong geometric shapes. I've seen diamonds before. In this case, it seems like almost like a triangle. And so I have to wonder, is this like a triangular UFO with like an energy field around it that seems to mimic a sphere? You know, I don't know. It's just an idea out of left field. Maybe that's not the case. But and then let me show you their version. They've just increased the contrast on this particular frame, and take a look at this. Are you seeing what I'm saying? Look at these little pointy ends. And you see how it has like, it's not like a perfect circle. It has like rectilinear sides to this object. And not does it just have rectilinear sides, it has these weird little spikes on it, almost looking like the way you think like a sun with, you know, the basic way that kid draws a sun with little sun rays. It almost has that type of quality. Let's go back and look at the video that we just extracted once again. So are you kind of seeing what I'm saying? So we're not just talking about like a spherical ghost-like orb. We're talking about like a structured type of object that seems to have rectilinear features as well as these tiny little spikes. Look at this. It almost reminds me of that dragonfly UFO that was on Coast to Coast for quite a while. I don't know if that ended up being a hoax or not, but I'll go ahead and show you a picture of what I'm talking about. So yeah, so that's cool. That's really interesting. One other article that I wanted to briefly go over is this one. Let me just read here what it says here. Newly released footage of a glowing orb over Mexico has been called very consistent with decades of previous reports of unidentified aerial phenomenon from pilots. Apparently he took the picture from the cockpit. Pretty amazing. It says here, video obtained by the Daily Mail shows a pulsating teardrop shaped object zip around a pair of FedEx pilots who spotted the UFO March 19, 2020. At one point, the brilliant yellow-white plasma-like object appears to rapidly descend from the sky to match the altitude of two cargo planes, then flash a beam of light in their direction. The orb proceeds to zoom alongside the aircraft for more than half an hour before disappearing with a flash of pinkish purple light. Man, half an hour is a long time to be watching a UFO. That's kind of scary. Let's go ahead and take a look at the UFO real quick.
Oh, this is fucking cool. I had to call my brother-in-law. He lives in Puebla.
I mean, there's nothing flashing that I can see. I don't even
And you can
look how it pulses, though.
You can hear the sound of the airplane too in the background. So it's kind of interesting.
Jeez, man, that is freaky, man.
crazy. You think it's a weather balloon? Because it
No, not with lights like that.
Because it doesn't fall like that either.
No, the only weather balloon we have is near Harlingen. It's 15,000 feet AGL. This thing's above our altitude. I just can't tell. That's why I asked you to hit the TCAS, just in case it was an airplane. Dude,
Okay, so that's really weird. I can't tell if the pulsating is the camera not being able to focus on the object, or if that's the actual nature of the object. Now, the way the article poses it is as if this is the actual nature of the object. So just to kind of finish off here, it says the pilots have not come forward with their identities, according to the Daily Mail, due to the stigma surrounding such controversial events. However, NARCAP Executive Director Ted Rowe assured the UK outlet that their account of the floating orb is credible, coming from two career pilots with nearly 30 years of experience combined between the US Air Force and private sectors. Something that we talked a lot in this episode is how many UFOs get spotted by pilots. And what's so amazing is that, obviously pilots are trained aviation observers. If they're saying that these are unidentified flying objects or UAPs, whatever you want to call it, they're probably seeing something very, very strange, something that can't be easily defined as just, it's a little light or some kind of weather phenomenon. They're going to know the weather phenomenons, even if you see like a ball of lightning. So it's hard for me not to believe a pilot who has 30 years of aviation experience, who's a trained observer, and who seems to be spotting something that is following them for over half an hour. Just amazing. So I went ahead and I went on Photoshop and I decided to do the exact same process that I did with the other frame, where I took the kind of like a still of the object, and I put on the filter, and let me show you what we got here. Once again, we have a flying object that seems to have geometric shapes. Like, it looks like a sphere because of all the ambient lighting around it. But once you actually focus on the object and you kind of extract some of that and you kind of take away some of the ambient wavelengths, so even though it looks like a perfect sphere, it's actually not a perfect sphere. And the fact that there's a consistency with all these images, it makes me feel that these are legitimate footage. Once again, just to kind of flash to the other one, and something else that's actually kind of crazy. When I look at this, it looks something in between the first object that we showed from Coast to Coast AM and something that I've reported on my channel, which was an image that was taken from the Apollo mission on the moon. I found this independently on my own. It was, I think I've seen this photo before, so other people have also discovered this image. So I'm not trying to take any credit for anything. I'm just saying that nobody sent me this image, that's all. But here is the episode where I reported on a particular UFO that was spotted on the moon by Apollo images, and check out what we got here.
A white little dot. But let me tell you, this is more than just a white dot. And there's a reason why I call it the craft, because when you zoom in, well, yeah, I don't know how else to say it. It looks unbelievably symmetrical.
So what I found so interesting is that the article described the object as teardrop. So I just kind of wanted to put the objects next to each other just to kind of showcase what we got here. It seems to be even more teardrop than this particular object. But you see how there seems to be similarities here. So whereas this one has the same kind of strange teardrop shape, this one, reported by the pilots, seemed to have very similar geometric shapes that matches this image, which, like I said, was something that I just randomly found on the NASA archives. So yeah, I just wanted to make this episode to kind of showcase some of the footages regarding orbs, talk about the concept of what are orb UFOs. If you have spotted one of these, if you have any idea what they are they some kind of plasma type craft? Are they structured? Why do they behave organic? Please let me know on the comment section. I would love to hear your ideas. And just want to remind you once again, we have a second channel. It's called Strange Horizon. Go check it out. There's some really cool videos that you won't find on Second Earth. And please stay tuned because we're going to have some incredible episodes, including one where we might actually showcase one of the only Varginha alien photos that might be in existence right now, or at least in Google, because you can't find this image on Google anymore. All right, so that is our episode for today. Thank you so much for joining me. And please stay tuned because I will be coming out with another episode this week. This is Felipe speaking, signing out.